I set a very ambitious financial goal in 2021. The goal was to save $60,000 between the 3 accounts, which I call my savings accounts, being my big savings, my emergency fund, and what I was intending to put towards investments over the year. And I actually ended up saving $61,436, which I was pretty damn happy with. So today I wanted to dive a little bit further into how this was possible working a standard 9-to-5 job and what processes I have in place which helped me achieve this milestone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and in today's video, I'm going to be diving into how I was able to achieve my savings goal for 2021. Before I go into any specific details, I just wanted to mention that everyone's situation is different and there are so many factors which go into determining someone's ability to save. Hopefully, what I'm about to talk about will have elements and aspects which you can incorporate into your own goals towards savings to help you achieve them. That's the main thing I want to cover before jumping into specifics, is that everyone's different, and understand that what I'm about to talk about might offer opportunities for you to put those practices into place. However, you should not be comparing what I was able to save to what you want to be saving, because our incomes will be completely different, our living situations will be completely different. Just needed to make that very clear. So let's start with tracking data. I personally keep track of a lot of different finance related categories which play a role in my day-to-day life. And I use my own personal finance tracking spreadsheet to keep everything nicely presented and easy to find. The 2 main things from it in particular that I would like to focus on in today's video is how I split my income between my various accounts and why I keep track of specific expenses. And just as an FYI, I've actually made a video talking more in depth about the spreadsheet itself, and I've made a copy available for download if you were interested in taking a copy to use for yourself. It's free, it's a template, feel free to grab it. Links are in the description down below. And all I really ask is that if you could hit that like and subscribe button, it really does help the channel, and I really do appreciate the support. So feel free to use that resource as you wish. And if you need some guidance on how the spreadsheet works and how it functions, I've linked the video as well in the description down below. There are only 2 reasons why I do this to help me work towards my savings goals. The first reason is to understand what my fixed expenses are. Knowing how much you're roughly going to need to spend to keep your life functioning on a day-to-day basis is very important. Once you have this number, once you know what this is going to cost you, you can start projecting what you're going to be able to save with the excess or remaining number. And just for context, fixed expenses are anything that you must spend money on to keep your life running. I'm talking things like your grocery bills, rent, a mortgage, any types of insurance, being a car insurance, private health insurance, house insurance, your phone bill potentially, your petrol spending, your car registration. There is a big list, and I'm not going to list them all in this video, but maybe I'll make a video talking about fixed expenses. It's probably a good idea, something for myself, so that I don't have to come back and think of them off the top of my head. The point is a fixed expense is something you must put money towards every single day, every week, every month, whatever the frequency of those payments being required is, but you must do that in order to be able to live your life. And I've been keeping track of these expenses year in, year out for the better half of the past decade. And because I've been doing this, I've been able to kind of project what I'm roughly going to need to spend each year based on the fixed expenses from the previous year, because over December 31st to January 1st, they don't change all that much. And I've been able to track how they've fluctuated as I've grown older, taken on more debt with properties that I've purchased. And the whole point that I'm trying to make here is that I started by collecting data to get a rough estimate for what's to come. Then I can go a little bit deeper and actually calculate exacts once I know things like, right now my phone bill is about to run out. I don't know what the next plan that I'm going to go on is going to be. I don't know how much money I'm going to have to put towards that each month based on the last 5 years and what I've kind of been doing in terms of the plans that I've been on. I'm going to be able to project and estimate roughly what that's going to be. And when I eventually change my plan and move on to a new plan, I'm going to be able to put that into my spreadsheet and keep track of that data as well to see how I track against my fixed expenses and also actually account for that fixed expense. That's just one very simple example of how useful this data can be, especially when you're calculating almost everything. And it's not that hard to keep track of. It's one thing I definitely want to emphasize. I'm not looking at this spreadsheet day in, day out. I'm doing maybe 10 minutes a week, backtracking through everything that I need to go through to input that data and collect it in a nice, neat, and presentable way. And this is where we move into the next aspect of today's video, where I have my fixed expenses and then I have a sum of money left over with my paycheck. What I see with a lot of people, like this is more people than I would have thought would fall into this category, people then treat that lump sum, that excess cash after they've paid their fixed expenses every paycheck, as spending money. It goes into their spending account and they can spend it freely however they wish, which ties directly into how I split my income into my various accounts. This is kind of step 2 of what I'm explaining and what I started explaining at the beginning of the video. Context first, I have 5 primary bank accounts and the system I use works pretty well for me. And full disclosure, I am now managing 2 properties where I've had to set up a couple of extra accounts to manage the money that goes in and out of that loan. Just understand that the income generated from those properties is not being counted as part of my savings goal. It's not being counted as part of the accounts or the 5 primary accounts I'm about to discuss. And the accounts themselves don't really get touched. My income from my 9 to 5 doesn't go in them. They are kind of self-sustaining and they're doing their own thing. I really want to put emphasis on it that even though I'm managing all of this extra stuff, that's kind of automated and doing its own thing. The 5 primary bank accounts is what I'm focusing on in today's video and what you should be focusing on if you're not managing a property portfolio. It's still going to be applicable to your own situation. So 5 accounts. I have a spending account, which is like an everyday spending account, a bills account, a house account, or it's not a house account anymore. I've purchased the house. It's now a big savings or an offset account for my property, a fund/holiday account, and an emergency fund, which I'm sure if you've read The Barefoot Investor is a very similar model to his setup. And why is it very similar? It's because it kind of is and started out that way, and it's developed a little bit where I treat the accounts a little bit differently to the suggestions made in the book. However, if you are getting into personal finance, you're living within Australia in particular, but realistically would be helpful anywhere in the world, same rules and principles apply. I highly recommend reading this book. I highly recommend watching my video on the topic if you haven't already. It's a bit of an older video, don't judge me. It was literally like, I think the first video I actually used my face in, where it was like this, kind of reminiscing on old times. The point is that the content is really good. That book is really good. Highly recommend watching and learning a bit more about it. If you're just starting out, if you're familiar with it, great. We can continue and you should understand what I'm about to say. So what I end up doing is after I pay my fixed expenses every time I'm paid, I split my income up based on a percentage system across those 5 bank accounts. Just understand that these percentages that are going into these bank accounts are based on my own living situation and lifestyle. These numbers can be changed. And if you wanted to set something up to be kind of similar to how I've got it, you can do that absolutely. Just understand the specific percentages I'm about to go through are for my own lifestyle and living situation. The point here is that I'm not spending the excess money after my fixed expenses all in one go. I'm breaking it up between these accounts in a way that will benefit me in both my lifestyle and my ability to focus on future goals. Let's go through a quick example. I think this is worthwhile doing. Let's say I earn $1,000 a week after tax. And that is a pretty standard salary here in Australia of $65,000. It is by no means a large and significant salary. It is pretty normal. Let's say my fixed expenses are $400 a week, which means I will be left week in, week out with $600 remaining unused, ready to be split up between those various accounts. I would then be breaking up the remaining $600 into the following percentages. I would put 15% or $90 into my everyday spending account. I would put $150, which is 25% into my bills account. I would put 10% or $60 into my fund/holidays account, and I would be putting the remaining 50% of that 600 being $300 into my big savings, my house account, whatever the big savings goal account would be. Now, depending on what your fixed expenses are, those numbers might fluctuate and have to be adjusted ever so slightly. I guess the point overall is that is a very simple breakdown of how you could treat having excess money into specific accounts. Don't get caught up on the very detailed specifics of the example. Just understand that that's how you could approach it in terms of allocating money to different purposed accounts with the intention of saving some of that, the more the better. And on top of the system that I've just discussed, having the number of what my fixed expenses are going to be is a really good idea. I can use that number to then save my bills account to what it would be if all of my expenses came at once. How much is that going to be? Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. Let's say it's $5,000. So once my bills account gets to $5,000, because I put more than I need to into my bills account ever so slightly every single time I'm paid, it builds up to, let's call it a buffer zone. And when it gets to that $5,000 limit that I've set, every dollar that goes into that as excess, I have excess money in that account now. And instead of inflating my lifestyle and treating it as spending money, I repurpose it to go towards things like investments. And it's such a great idea because I'm not changing my lifestyle. I'm not creating a false lifestyle because I'm putting more money into that expense account, accounting for future expenses. Let's say I have kids. At the moment, I don't have kids, I don't have that expense, so I'm putting more into my bills account. Let's say kids come on board, I don't have to change anything. I'm already putting extra money into that bills account, which will hopefully work towards paying for the bills that kid is going to cost me. The point that I'm trying to make is I'm future-proofing. I'm also setting a limit so I'm not going overboard. You don't need $100,000 in a bills account. You're not going to spend $100,000 in a year on bills if they all came at once. And with that excess cash, I'm repurposing it to build wealth and also hopefully do something good for my future. It's like a triple threat, all in a positive manner. This is where discipline and budgeting comes into play. I have built a system around my income, around what I am paid, and I get to live the best of both worlds because of it. I'm able to live my life comfortably without splurging too much, and I'm also able to save an amount of money, which is now making an impact in my life for my future at such a young age. I did not start on the salary that I am on now. I started working at 14 years old for minimum wage and put the same fundamentals in place based on my living situation at the time back then. And I've carried that forward with me so that every single time I get a pay rise, I go up a rank in my work, in my career, and I'm earning more money, the same logic applies. A bit more goes towards spending money now. A bit more goes into my bills account, which evidently builds up that bills account to that buffer faster, and the excess gets put into my investments. My savings grow faster, which means I can achieve my goals faster. My emergency fund is always going to be topped up and made sure that I have money in it for a rainy day. What is the outcome overall of putting these fundamentals into practice from such a young age and carrying it forward with me? It is that I've lived a very good life. I'm able to continue living a very good life whilst also working towards goals that are important to me. This is, in a nutshell, I love that word, in a nutshell, how I've been able to work towards these savings goals each year and actually achieve them based on projections that are reasonable based on my income and living expenses, and my discipline and habit building, which I talk about so much on this channel because I think that lots of people can do it. I think that anyone can work towards these goals and achieve them. You really just need to get the fundamentals and practice into place. And once you've got it, it becomes a way of life. It becomes second nature. And it's such a great feeling when you actually end up achieving those goals. It makes you want to continue doing it into the future. And no doubt it was tough at the beginning to build these habits and work towards these goals and sacrifice things, as when I was younger, I wasn't earning great money working in a supermarket. That's just one example. I was definitely not making amazing money. It wasn't until I started working full-time in my proper career field where I was able to really start elevating these savings goals and really start elevating the money that's going into these accounts. But now at the ripe age of 27, if you're a young person watching this video, or you're even an old person who's earning really good money, put these fundamentals and practices into place. You won't regret it long-term. Realistically, there's so many benefits from doing this. And that's why I'm preaching it right now. It's why I'm making these types of videos, these recap videos, these savings goal videos. It's not to brag, it's to provide context to both people who are interested in learning about the topic and myself, because it's a great reflection. It's a great way for me to go, wow, I really did achieve that goal. I kept track of it. I saw what went into that account. I put those numbers on paper and seen the value in them. And here I am a year later going, this is how I did it. And this is how I'm going to do it next year. And once I get to that milestone, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? It's such a great feeling. That's why I'm talking about it. And that's pretty much all I have for today's video. This is how I achieved my savings goal for 2021. And I have definitely made a video talking about my savings goal for 2022 if you were interested to see how things are going to change now that I've purchased another property. If you're interested, I've left a link down in the description below. Feel free to go give that a watch after this video here. Overall, I hope that I have given you some insight into how this was possible. I hope that I've given you some motivation to give this a go yourself, set a goal, work towards it, and have the outcome of achieving it at the end of the year, or at least giving it a go in the end is going to benefit you, no doubt. Overall, for me, this has been a great reflection. It's been something that really puts into perspective how much hard work pays off. And the outcome again is that I am pretty damn happy with my results, and I'm going into this year's savings goal with the same feeling. Like, I'm feeling good about it. It's kind of happening semi-automatically. I've got the system in place. All I really need to do is follow it. And when I make the follow-up video at the end, I'm going to be smiling. I hope being able to discuss something very similar to how this video went. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button down below. It really does help the channel grow. I really do appreciate the support, and I'll leave you there. Have a good day, have a good week, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.